You know what? I really don't like this lens. The problem is, every time I try to explain why I don't like it, I struggle. On paper, this should be exactly the lens many Lumix users have been waiting for. Small, lightweight, full frame, autofocus, a proper Lumix compact lens for cameras like the S9. I've been shooting with it for a month now on S9, S5II and S1RII, and while sometimes I absolutely love the results, other times something just isn't clicking for me. So for this review, instead of talking about sharpness and specifications, I want to figure out why. Before we get started, if you think about picking up this lens or any of the gear featured in or used to make this video with, you'll find links in the description below. Using those links doesn't cost you anything extra and it generally helps support the channel, so thank you if you choose to do that. Chapter 1. Why I was excited about this lens. This lens should have been launched together with S9 2 years ago. Lumix have tried firstly with a manual focus 28mm f8 pancake lens, and even though it looked great, it was pretty much useless. Then 18 to 40mm zoom kit lens, I actually quite like it, but it is not a fast lens by any means. So until this, there was no good, really small, fast Lumix lens available for S9 or generally speaking. TT Artisans has given us a really nice small, full of character 40mm f2, which I am a fan of. A really affordable lens that got a lot of attention from L-mount users, but it was not Lumix lens. So naturally, I got really excited when they announced this, together with this very pretty looking version of S9. This 40mm was a missing piece of Lumix jigsaw. It fits perfectly on S9 and it offers a very universal and very practical focal length for a lot of day-to-day applications like portrait, street or travel photography. There's definitely a market for a lens like this. Popularity of TT Artisan's 40mm is proving that, although that could be also due to its very low price. Lumix are certainly late to the party with this, but it looks like they are trying to sway more users to their own 40mm instead of them looking elsewhere. Chapter 2. My thoughts after using it for a month. It's not about how fast autofocus works here or how accurate it is, but about an experience using a lens like this. There's just something special about lens camera combo, especially a full frame camera that you can call pocket size. This even on a camera like S5II or S1RII doesn't feel big at all. What I really love about it immediately was the size, obviously, the weight, the fact that I can literally put it in my pocket. A lens that I can carry with me everywhere, but also the important bits like weather sealing and really good close focusing. These are the first things that really impressed me about it. Then I started noticing things that slightly bother me. It didn't make me want to take the camera with me more, quite the opposite. The predictable inconsistencies put me off it first, but the more I used it, the more I realized I was shooting differently with it, almost like shooting film, not knowing exactly what I was going to get until I got home. Although it is a lens made for S9, I've really enjoyed shooting with it more on S5II and S1RII. I prefer a viewfinder, especially on sunny days. So very often, the photos taken with it feel very flat. Don't get me wrong, there's a really decent subject to background separation here. It's not that. The contrast, color and overall feel is sometimes flat. It also does not deliver constant results. It often doesn't give me the image that I am used to from a Lumix camera. There's often some blue magenta tint to the images, but that can be easily fixed in post. Also, even though the flaring is nicely under control, there's crazy amount of chromatic aberration, color fringing when you shoot towards bright light sources with it. Not what I expect from a Lumix lens, even a budget-friendly as this. In all honesty, these little things make me want to hate it, but I somehow can't. Every time I get an image I am not happy with, I get 3 or 4 that I really like. Not something I experience often with lenses from big brands, but something that makes this lens a little bit more quirky. Chapter 3. Looking through my photos. Okay, let's have a look at some more photos I've taken with it a little bit closer. To me personally, things like bokeh quality or corner sharpness are not as important as the focus accuracy or getting images sharp where I want them to be sharp. Wide open, this lens is fine. It's okay most of the time. Very often I had to do some extra sharpening in post. Also, quite often I miss the focus entirely. In certain situations, it struggles to get that focus point sharp altogether. But as I said before, you get more success with it than not. There's just something how this lens renders the overall look. The imperfections give it that bit of quirkiness. It is not clinical by any means. This image here is a perfect example of why I struggle with this lens. Very hard to edit it and the colors are all over the place. On the other hand, photos like these make me feel like I want to shoot more and give me great sense of satisfaction, or they enhance the feeling why I fell in love with photography in the first place. The times when the results are not what I expected come to actually how the lens renders the color and detail. The type of images that I have shot in the past with different lenses that I had no problem with this are just impossible for me to fix or adjust to my liking in post. This is very, very rare in my experience, and I have shot and tested and reviewed hundreds of lenses from all camera brands before. Video. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is video, and interestingly, this is where a lot of my complaints about this lens started disappearing. I've shot quite a few clips with it, and unlike some of the photos, video felt much more predictable. Autofocus has been solid, the size makes it very easy to carry around, and because the lens is so small and light, it balances really nicely on smaller gimbals and lightweight setups. The thing I really like is the focal length. 40mm sits in this really interesting place where it feels natural. It's not particularly wide and it's not particularly tight. For walking shots, general b-roll, travel footage, or documenting everyday life, I find myself reaching for it quite often. In video, I also noticed those little imperfections less. The slight softness, the rendering, the quirks that occasionally bothered me in the photography actually felt much less important once things started moving. And maybe that's another reason why I'm struggling to make my mind about this lens. As a photography lens, I have a complicated relationship with it. As a video lens, I actually quite enjoy using it. Chapter 4. The problem might be me. What if Lumix got this exactly right? Maybe I am expecting from this lens too much, and the fact that I have shot with many other lenses before is the problem. Maybe if I was not comparing it but taking it for what it is, I would have totally different opinion about it now. Maybe I'm judging this lens unfairly. Using cheaper vintage or manual lenses, the problems they have, build quality or optically, actually add character and make them unique. But these days, with all the photography or video gear, most of us expect more and more from them. What was the standard 10 years ago is not usable these days. The thing is that when you pay $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 for a lens, if you use it right, most of the time you get what you see. With cheaper ones like this, you have to very often work for it. So the good results are actually more rewarding. Maybe I've become spoiled. Over the last few years, I've reviewed some incredible lenses that are razor sharp, wide open, lenses that focus perfectly every single time, lenses that produce beautiful colors and contrast straight out of the box. The problem is that after a while, you start treating that as normal. You forget that photography wasn't always like that. A lot of the lenses people fell in love with years ago had flaws. Some were soft, some had weird color shifts, some flared horribly when pointed towards light. But those imperfections became part of their character. Modern lenses have become so good that sometimes they almost feel predictable. And maybe that's what I'm struggling with here. This lens sits somewhere in between those two worlds. It's not a vintage lens. It's not a perfectly clinical modern premium lens either. Sometimes it surprises me in a good way. Sometimes it frustrates me. And perhaps that's exactly why I keep thinking about it. Maybe this lens isn't supposed to be perfect and the quirks I am experiencing are part of the design. Let's face it, it is one of the cheaper Lumix lenses that you can buy. It is not a lens to replace a perfect ultra-wide aperture prime, but a lens that, because of its size, weight and the price, should be taken for what it is and used to shoot for fun with. Am I disappointed with it because the lens failed or because it isn't a lens I wanted it to be? By the way, this titanium gold version of the S9 is really growing on me. I had a blue version from the moment it came out, and it's just a camera, a tool for me. I do not have emotional attachment to it in any way, but this finish makes me want to stroke it and give it a name. Chapter 5. Who is this lens actually for? A lens that is perfect match for a casual shooter using a camera like Lumix S9 who wants portability. It makes other full-frame Lumix cameras smaller overall too. You probably love it if you are into travel photography, small, inconspicuous lens and a focal length that can be a one lens solution. Standard field of view, it creates minimal distortion, makes it suitable for family photography or portrait. You may not love this if you are chasing optical perfection or ultimate image quality. Overall, it is a lens that can bring a lot of joy and let you be creative with. Just don't compare it side by side to lenses costing 2 or 3 times more than this. Final chapter. So do I like it? Honestly, I still don't know. Some days I absolutely love what comes out of it, other days I rather use something else. But maybe that's the most interesting thing about this lens. It's one of the few lenses I've reviewed recently that I'm still thinking about a month later. And that's it from me. As always, I'd love to know what you think. Have you tried this lens? Are you considering it? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.